As Zambian Welsh film director Rungano Nyoni's highly anticipated second feature on becoming a Guinea Fowl comes to cinemas on December the 6th, 2024, we want to take a deeper look at the significance of Black Welsh film, both in terms of the stories being made and the opportunities for communities to connect with them. I'm Liana Stewart, a documentary filmmaker from Newtown in Cardiff, and I'm here with Yvonne Connikie, a programmer curator specialising in Black independent film, who founded the Black Film Festival Wales and is lead programmer for the Windrush Caribbean Film Festival in Newport. And she's currently the co-chair of National Theatre Wales. So, did you get a chance to watch the film?
Yeah. I loved it.
It's
I
really
loved
good, isn't it?
it. It's
I
really
felt so many emotions watching the film.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
So many emotions. Like it was strange because what I'm like, how am I going through so much in an hour and a half?
Mm. But that's
I
the
guess I
point.
didn't know what to expect.
Yeah. And I think that's it. I think that's because uh, Rungano's now in a position where she surprises us with the stories that she's coming up with. And I think the reason why this film really nails it for me is because it has that lovely mixture of traditional culture and modern contemporary popular culture. It's all mixed up in there. And there's lots of things that we all universally experience, because we don't want to give away too much about the film, but there are universal things that are experienced specifically by women, although men do too, but specifically by women, that can translate into any language, any culture, any class. Really doesn't matter, you know?
Yeah, I agree with you there. Let's talk about who are the current sort of influential filmmakers who are Black and Welsh coming through at the moment. Who would you say you have your eye on in respect to kind of Black Welsh filmmakers coming through this year?
Okay. Well, you obviously. I mean, I'm very interested to see what type of film you're going to make next. I think Black and Welsh was quite groundbreaking because we didn't have anything quite like that identifies blackness and Welshness in the same space and talks about it from kind of lots of diverse positions. And so it's going to be very interesting to see what type of work you end up doing moving forward. And I liked it because it spread across, the Welsh language, the English language, the fact that we all have heritages from somewhere else, so we will have another language. So you're talking about people who are multilingual as well and have cultures that they're blending and mixing in that particular space in Wales. So yeah, I liked that for that.
Thank
Obviously,
you. I didn't expect that, so thanks, Yvonne. That means a lot to me.
it's all right, no problem. And the other person that I'm always interested in is John Guillermo, who, as we know, is a producer who's got Good Gate Media, who was with Red and Black Films for really ages. I love him because he is one of these people that always looks forward as what's the next thing to do. He takes things to the next level, but it's always measured and it's always kind of understanding what the market might want. So I'm always interested to see what John's going to come up with next. Um,
Oh, love that.
Sally Husseini, of course, who is
Yeah,
half Egyptian. We all love her work, don't we? We love what she
yeah,
does.
yeah,
My Brother the Devil, we know that's an amazing film as well. So that's just a
yeah.
start. Do you want me to go on or do you want to take it?
Yeah. No, I just have someone who I think is a brilliant sort of emerging director. That's Liara Barusi. She's
Right,
known for being the director of Jukebox Collective, so she's more known in the kind of dance and performance realm
right.
for stage.
Mm-hmm.
But she's now released her second short film called Of Us, which was for Beyond the Baseline exhibition at the British Library, and it
Right.
explored the kind of untold exploration of 500 years of Black music in Britain. And her
Mm-hmm.
film is visually absolutely stunning, So, yeah, so there's other people coming through in the kind of documentary art realm, and that's definitely Liara Barusi, I think. If there's anyone else you think is kind of coming through in Wales, then absolutely mention them, Yvonne.
Anismo Malanga has been doing lots of um, video work for a long time, and he's gone into short films. Is it Gabin Kalongo? He's an actor, you know,
He's an actor.
Gabin.
Yeah.
I like what Gabin's journey is looking like, you know. I was very, just pleased to see his work popping up now on the BBC quite.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, okay, so he's going to be a one to watch, I think.
Oh,
Uh,
definitely. He's in Mr. Loverman at the moment on
yeah,
the BBC.
right. And obviously, I'm always keen to see what Kyle and Gavin are doing, even though they're accomplished, sort of like, you know,
Yeah.
grassroots creatives. They always, again, are able to come up with something um, in a new light that can be quite exciting as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, so Kyle Legall and Gavin Porter,
Yeah.
they're great because they kind of merging. I mean, they're very much set in Butetown and the history of Butetown. And what's great about them is they use animation, they're using theatre and the visuals of film together. Yeah, I should have mentioned them first, seeing that I know them and they're brilliant. But shout out to them. And then I guess like the one thing that is missing from the screen is obviously more Black Welsh filmmakers, but it's also the stories of people that create these films, which are missing from the scene. What would you say was a structural barrier to prevent work such as Rungano's, who's brilliant and is very much not set in Wales, but by a Welsh filmmaker? What would you say is a structural barrier to prevent work coming to our screens, which is very much Welsh based or draws on Welsh stories?
I think that we are making that work. Do you know what I mean? I mean, when I first started doing this type of work, then no one was particularly interested. This is 20 years ago. And there was, you know, when I went around and said, oh, I'd like to do a Black Film Festival in Wales, people just said, no, you're just not going to find the work. You know, there's just not enough work produced. And I think it wasn't that at all. It's that the work was there, but nobody had really thought about it. It was a void in a way. And I think it's the same with Black filmmaking in Wales. We just have to keep moving forward and really capture the essence of the experiences that we're having and put them on the screen. I think as far as the structures are concerned, we all know that racism is going to be a barrier. We know that we're very underrepresented in the media industry and the industry in general. So that's always going to be, unless policy changes, then that's going to be a huge issue moving forward. But I think that if you are lucky enough to, because I think a lot of it is to do with survival in the film industry. I think a lot of it is that if you look at people who have been successful in the industry, a lot of it has to do with the fact that they were talented, but they didn't give up. You know, if you look at the models of people like Kyle and Gavin, you know, they're a kind of a collectivism that works. We know that.
Yeah.
You know, we know that the whole dance scene coming up is collective. You know, those
Yeah.
really work. We know that people like Connor Allen have put together something called Loyalty, where lots of young um, and Black heritage of young people who are in the arts are coming together now to make work and also to support others in bringing them in and getting them and helping them to make work as well. So that kind of entrepreneurial side of um, the experience of being in the arts, I think, is really important. And also being able to be flexible to sort of say, okay, I can write, I can make film, but I can also do other things as well to keep yourself always relevant in the industry. I think it's a useful thing, a useful skill to be able to grow and develop.
Yeah, and it's hard, isn't it? Because it's one of those things where if you come from money, as in you come from parents or a family who can support you financially when you have those down periods, otherwise
Mm,
it's pretty hard to stay
mm,
consistently in an industry. And I think even more so with film. I'm in the TV industry and it's difficult enough, but film, they come around much less. There's
yes.
longer productions, but if you want to become a director, it's very, very difficult to get there and to keep consistently banging on doors and
Mm, yeah.
funding that. So yeah, and I think a lot of the time one of the barriers which is missing for me is people who have disabilities as well. So if you're Black, that's one thing, and if you're Black and you're disabled, that's a whole nother level. That's a
Mm,
massive barrier for you. So
mm,
there's some of the stories which I would love to see coming through and supported
mm.
in Wales and beyond. But yeah, I definitely feel like it has got better. But we still have quite far to go.
Yeah, we just
Um,
keep working. But the fact that I think the most important thing, a leap, is the identification of Blackness within Welsh culture and how
yeah,
that's going to grow and how that's going to develop over the next 20 years, because we will then have a generation of children who will be fluent in Welsh. So they will have another layer of their culture, which they
yeah,
identify with completely. So how will
yeah,
that and how is that going to be produced? So if we are looking at people who have other issues that they're dealing with, whether it's disability or LGBTQ, and they're coming through from that particular space, how does it look? You know?
yeah. Yeah, it looks fantastic. People can draw on the Welshness, but also their experience from their culture
Mm,
or from their abilities, or their
mm.
sexualities, and it just makes rich stories, rich films coming out of Wales. What impact does it have for audiences to have access to these kind of stories in their nearest cinema?
Are you talking about from a diverse heritage? Like,
Yeah, yeah, from Black filmmakers in
yeah.
Wales.
I think it's really important to do that purely because it creates that richness of culture. It's telling a story, but it's creating another narrative, a counter narrative, if you like, from what people might expect, or people who actually would love to see it, but have never got an opportunity to actually experience it and think, oh my goodness, this is amazing. And I think when you talked about Rungano's film, the first thing I noticed about the first 5 minutes was the fact that she was dressed up in an outfit that Missy Elliott had made. In that video, Super Duper Fly, is it called Super Duper?
Yeah, yeah, Super Duper Fly.
And the fact that she had gone for that really struck me because, as you know, Missy Elliott was a big star in the 90s. She was really groundbreaking with the way her size at the time, she was quite big. So they make a very kind of like space like outfit, which makes her look even bigger, which
Yeah,
was really a nod to the whole kind of Afrofuturist genre that we all, a lot of artists draw on and still draw on. And there she
yeah,
is doing exactly the same thing. So she's kind of looking at the present, but using this kind of futuristic vibe. She's having a nod to like iconic Black women in hip hop, but she's also reaching into popular culture. So once you do that, then you have this kind of much wider audience pull, if you like, when you do things like that. And also, I think she was very smart with the music because the music goes through many genres. There's dancing in the music in the film as well, which is all about popular culture. She's very smart in the sense that when you go to Shula's family house, it looks like a modern house. It just looks like a modern house. It doesn't look like any stereotypical idea of what you might think of Black people in Africa. All of that is completely destroyed in this film. And so she brings that home. You see the interior in Africa, but you see it from a very modern perspective. This is an ordinary modern family living life, having the same experiences in many cases that people are having all over the world. And also we have the main protagonist again has that kind of Afropolitan feel about her. This is a girl who's clearly
yeah,
gone to school and potentially university and has lived in
yeah,
the West, and also she's really down with her sisters at home. You know,
yes,
so or she may well have had that education here because if she'd gone to a international school, that would have happened anyway. So
yeah,
it's all of those tie-ins that she's bringing together that that's the beauty, I think, of Blackness and Caribbeanness and Africanness, is that we can have all of these dual nationalities at the same time and be completely at home in them. uh,
yes. And I feel like one thing Rungano has actually really inspired me because she's telling an authentic story, which is really significant to um, Zambian culture, and elements of that, like you said, other people can draw on because they're quite large themes within this. But she's very unapologetic about not having to explain certain
Mm,
customs and traditions in the film. And I think you can apply that when you're making film as
mm,
a Black filmmaker in Wales. You can be authentic and tell your story the way you want to.
mm.
Um, you don't have to over explain everything.
No.
If people connect with a person within your film or a theme within your film, that's enough. And I think that's one thing Rungano does exceptionally well.
Mm, mm,
And so I hope that this can inspire other, especially Black female filmmakers need to be inspired that for one, they can make feature films, which do incredibly that well, like Rungano, but also you can make films which are specific to your culture, your traditions. Those are really important for new talent and audiences to see and be inspired by in return. It was just really interesting, the reaction from audiences when people saw my film, Black and Welsh, about
mm,
being Black and Welsh. It was just the experiences from people all around Wales. And I think that's one thing people don't tend to hear about, is the kind of Black experience from North Wales or West Wales. Well, actually, the Black experience, full stop, of being Welsh, I think was quite
yeah.
new to some of the audiences who watched it.
Mm,
I had a lot of people would email or tweet me, and they would say things like, you know, I had no idea that this was the experience of black people in Wales. One person, and this tweet I'll never forget, was they didn't realize that they had kind of racist views or thoughts until they watched the film,
mm,
and are trying to change their ways. Other
mm,
people who featured in the film would have people stop them in the street and say how good it was to hear about the different experiences. So yeah, so these films by Black and minority filmmakers are incredibly important. It just raises awareness that, for one, you can make these films, and two, you can make it on a subject which is authentic to you, which is something
mm,
that you care about. And
mm,
then I think because you have that experience of being from that background, you'll create a film which will resonate with people who look like you and beyond. Like Rungano's film has done for me, actually. It's
mm.
caused me no end of inspo now. I'm like, what can I do? I want to get into kind of feature films, storytelling. And one thing I'd like to talk about just quickly before we end was having people like you, Yvonne, who are working within the spaces within Wales and beyond to bring our stories and our films to a wider audience is also so important. I'd when I met you in London, actually, and in person I met you in London. And when you meet someone who's Welsh and then is Black on top of that, it's like you hit the lottery. It just doesn't happen very often. And so I'm really grateful for you and the work that you've done over the years, Yvonne. And it's people like you help to get our films and our names out there. So thank you for all your work in promoting us over the years. So that's it, Yvonne. I mean, we've had a very nice chat. Thank
Yeah.
you for all your knowledge and experience. You've given
Oh,
me some food for thought.
it's lovely to have people to talk about Black filmmaking in Wales. I mean, you know, oftentimes it's not the conversation people are looking to have, and you're the kind of anomaly in the group. And then
Yeah.
suddenly I'm in this space, and it's just like, oh, I can talk about film, and I can ask questions, and I can, do you know what I mean? And I can be with
Yeah.
someone who, a conversation that really we should be having regularly, and we're not having them, and they're beneficial to both of us. And our communities need to be having them more as well. This is what I mean about the cross-fertilization of culture in Wales from a Black perspective that is now coming from all areas in Wales, that needs to kind of come together and have conversations of what their experiences are and share, and have that community where they can work together, or they know writers from up North Wales, or they know writers from
Yeah.
Pembrokeshire. Do you see what I mean? Or they know a cinematographer who's living in Neath, or what have you. This is the kind of thing that makes culture grow. This is what works, you know.
Yeah, and why these conversations are really important to have. Hopefully other people will listen, draw on these and have their own conversations, you
Yeah.
know.
Mm.
But thank you so much for your time today, Yvonne. And please go and watch Rungano Nyoni's film on becoming a Guinea Fowl. It is brilliant. I highly recommend it. And please support other Welsh filmmakers if you can. Thank you so much for listening and have a great day.